You're listening to Cowboy Logic with Jason Forby, a message of grace and hope.
Is everybody good? If you've been around here, some of you have been with me from the very get-go, you know I've never, ever, I don't think ever talked about money. And don't get nervous, I'm not going to, but Rachel's singing that song this morning. How's the line go? You can hear him say, all debts canceled. So I don't know, I just felt like, why do we just limit that to spiritual things? And so I was thinking, all debts canceled. It's like almost like he'd say, son, well, why don't you expect more from me, like debts canceled? And I'm like, well, yeah, all right. He said, what about financial? I just feel like there's a financial breakthrough that could happen, and I just feel like I'm supposed to say something about it, just to say, all debts canceled. Would somebody want to get a hold of that and say, anybody here got financial debts? I'd just assume mine go away. It's not just spiritual. It's not just physical. And I know they'll say prosperity gospel and all that, and I get it. All that's, has that been abused? Probably so. But just because something's been abused, don't throw the whole thing away. He's meant for us to be blessed. I got a good dad, and he blesses me once in a while and buys my lunch or something, Well, how much more? How much more? You got it? I mean, there's too much in there to just throw it all away. He who was rich became poor, so that we who were poor might be made rich. So that's all I got to say about that. I dare somebody to believe God to cancel all their debts. Is everybody all right? All right. Here's what I want to do. I just want to talk a little bit. There's this word that's been mulling around on me that I see it's a little bit of it's kind of one of them words that we've kind of used in church too much to where it's to the point of nobody really even thinks about it, or it's just a word. It's been said so much that nobody really makes it meaningful. You know what I'm trying to say, right? I hope so. But this word that's been on me lately is just this word authority. The word authority. I looked up the word authority. I just looked up the definition, but the definition just in the normal old dictionary says this: the power or right to give orders, make decisions, enforce obedience. Second one was a person or organization having power, control in a particular, typically political or administrative. Biblically, I looked it up. It's privilege, force, capacity, competency, freedom or mastery, or delegated influence. Delegated influence. And you think, well, what does all that mean? What's the point of talking about all that? And I think it's a good question. Jesus did all that he did, and he took back authority, right? So authority is like delegated influence. I think about in my own thinking, cowboy logic-wise, what does authority mean? It means somebody that's higher up has delegated someone else to have the right to operate on their behalf, right? I think of authority is, if I was just in my regular old wore-out truck and I pulled you over on the side of the road and was going to arrest you, say, I think you were speeding, I'm placing you under arrest. What would you do? Well, you'd say, are you an idiot? What? You're not a cop? You don't have any, right? You can't do that. Why? Because I have no authority. But now Greg, in that car he's got with them lights on the top of it, if he was to pull you over, guess what? It's a whole different story, right? What's the difference? One scenario, there's no authority. The other scenario, there's authority. He's been delegated and given influence to operate on behalf of the state. A higher entity has given him the rights and the badge and the authority to say, I have power to place you under arrest. Why is that relevant, or why does that even matter? Is because I see now most of people, a huge majority, I'll just not even say the church or the people of God, don't understand about authority. Everybody's trying to rebel against authority now and all that stuff. It's all been abused and all that. I get it. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying it's important for us to know this because we've been given authority. Jesus told the boys in Luke 10:19, he said, behold, I've given you authority. I've given you authority over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means harm you. Now, how many in here have been harmed? All of us. Why? I believe partly because we haven't understood authority. We haven't understood that we've been given authority, right? In the very beginning, you can trace it back to the beginning. God created male and female in a garden and all that, and said created them in the likeness and image of God, and then gave them dominion over the fish of the sea, right? You guys remember the story? Over all the creeping things, over all the earth, over all the creation, right? Mankind has been given dominion. Now, what's dominion? Same thing. I'm giving man the authority. From a higher up place, has been given permission to operate on behalf of, you follow me? So man's been given that. Well, what happened? Serpent tricks Eve and then gives away their authority, and so man was operating like dummies for all the long time, thousands of years down through there, right? This is a big deal. This is what Jesus accomplished when he went to the cross and he lived through all that he lived through and demonstrated all that he demonstrated. What was he doing? He was taking authority back that Adam had given away. Jesus gets it back. And to prove it, he parades all of the enemies down the street in shame and whoops them all, defeats death. There's not one enemy left that has any authority. The problem is, he then gave authority back to us, and we've not known it. We've thought all this other stuff has been making arrests. We crawl out of the car in shame and put our hands out, and they'll handcuff me. I'll pay the tickets, and the whole time, we're the ones that's supposed to have been writing tickets. We're the ones that's supposed to have been making arrests. I'm just telling you, it's a different mindset. It's a different It's a different You know what I'm saying, right? We're cowboys, aren't we? Cowboy's not a job description. It's a Come on, is there any in here? It's like I'm not just laying down taking this stuff like we're victims now. We're not victims. We're not just letting life happen to us, whatever comes our way, whatever's my lot in life. I don't know why I got to deal with all this stuff. It could be because we haven't known that we're the ones with the authority, and the lying bully has been picking on us, not knowing, one whack in the nose, and that big sissy runs and cries. We've just been taking it. We've just been taking it. And I just don't suit me no more. I just want to say, Come on, let's whack the bully in the nose and send him crying and show that thing's a bluff anyway, and we're no longer accepting tickets and being arrested by anything else. We're the ones with the authority. We're the ones with the right and the privilege and the power. We've been given the place of influence. Is that what it said? We get to influence life. We get to influence creation. We are the ones, right? Dominion has been given back to us, and we've not known it. Come on, this will make more Bible make sense. This is why Jesus would say to the guys, right? And they're not even filled with the Spirit yet. The cross hasn't even happened yet, and he's given them all this stuff. How much more? He said, I'm giving you the keys. I'm giving you the keys. Whatever you bind on earth, heaven can now bind. Whatever you loose on earth, heaven can now loose. Why? Because you're the one with the authority. You're the one with the badge. You're the one deciding whether you accept this stuff or you don't accept this stuff. We're the ones that say no to this and yes to that. We have more say than we've ever been told. Is it too much pressure? Oh, I don't think so. It's kind of like we've just been going along saying, well, this is just happening to me. When there's something in you that gives you the power to say, no, I am not accepting this. I am not having this. Now, there might be a fight. There might be a process. There's a process of my mind changing and me gaining strength in areas or whatever else. I might have to say no more than once. I might have to continually say no before this. The bully, he's been winning a long time. You might just walk up there and say no one time, and he goes, oh, well, gig's up, you got me. Oh, no, he might test you just to see if you really believe. He might push you to see if you'll stay hooked. I'm just saying, let's stay hooked. Let's say, I'm not having this stuff. It's not the will of God. One of my neighbors came over. This really blessed me because he's not been a church guy ever his whole life. He's in his 80s. Yesterday morning, he comes over and he says, hey, I got a question for you. He just usually talking about horses or whatever. So I don't know what he's coming up with here. He said, I got a question for you. I thought he was going to ask me something about a horse or whatever. He said, I sat down last night and I read the book of Job. I don't know. It's an interesting place to start, I guess. But yeah, so he said, I got a question. He said, I've thought all along that God was in charge of what happens and all that. But he said, the way I read that seemed like Satan had a hand in it. What do you say about it? I said, well, yeah, I'd say you're knocking on the right door, right? I said, really, what I believe happened was God placed a hedge of protection around Job. You guys remember the story, right? The whole book went on, so paraphrase the whole thing. Satan shows up, and Job's name is mentioned, and he said, the only reason Job praises you is because you've blessed him so much, and you've put a hedge of protection around him. And then God says, well, everything he has is in your hands. So I'm like, man, well, what's going on here? So then he's like, well, okay, you know what happens? Satan goes and takes everything Job has, right? And so we say, well, we created this theology of, well, God allowed it, or it was the will of God so he could let Job, all this stuff. But really, it's like, what's happening here? On one side, God placed a hedge of protection around Job and blessed Job. On the other side, Satan wants to steal and rob and kill, right? So what happened? Stealing, robbing, and killing happened. Now, how did that take place? Job tells on himself. Later on, he says this, the thing I feared the most. What's fear? Fear is believing the lie. Fear really is the same thing as faith. Faith, you believe the truth, and fear, you believe the lie. So Job has his heart full of fear. You could say it like this, whoever I believed, I loaned my authority to and gave them permission to operate in my life. And later on he said, show me where I have erred and teach me to hold my tongue. Come on, didn't Job say that? So I say, what happened here? You got God and you got Satan, and they both understand that Job is the one that possesses the authority. It's the will of God for him to be protected and to be blessed. It's the will of Satan for him to be robbed from, killed, and stealing, and all that stuff. Which one did he loan his authority to? Is the one that had access to his life. What brought the hedge of protection down? Job's heart full of fear, running his mouth, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So Job's talking, and he says this, show me where I've erred, and teach me to hold my tongue. Because I've given the enemy access to my life. They're both fighting for the authority that man has. And whoever you give your authority to and allow to operate is who's going to operate in your life. Is that heavy? I hope not, but I mean, it's like, oh, okay, so what do we do now? Just like, I'm going to believe God. I'm going to understand it's the will of God to protect me and to bless me. It's the will of God for me to be successful. It's the will of God for me to be healthy. Pray like this, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. What's the will of God? Same as heaven. Is there sickness and disease in heaven? And it ain't His will for you now. Come on, is there debt in heaven? Come on, is there a curse in heaven? Any of it? None of it. It's easy to tell what the will of God is. It's the same as what's in heaven. We can see the life of Jesus. What did He do? He went around blessing people, healing the folks, casting out devils, raising the dead. What's the will of God? Easy. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. He's the exact representation. He's the visible of the invisible. What's the will of God for my life? I never saw Jesus give somebody sickness. I never saw Jesus tell somebody to go and work on these areas in your life and then come back and see me. I never saw that. It's the will of God for you to experience the goodness of God, and when you encounter that and experience that, that's what produces change inside of us. Come on, you got what I'm saying? I'm saying we've been given authority to say no to some stuff instead of just accepting it. We've been given the authority. We're wearing the badge. We've got the handcuffs and the pistol on our side and say, hey, sucker, as we stand in the name of Jesus. You understand? That's the badge. That's why we have the authority. That's who we're standing in for, operating under the authority that we've been sent here by a higher entity. We're here to make an arrest. Cancer, place you under arrest. Get out. Got it? You guys got it? Whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. Diabetes, place you under arrest. By the authority granted to me by heaven, instated by Jesus himself, has placed the Spirit of God inside of me. There's no authority higher than the authority that we carry. And if you know it, you can start making arrests. Get the hell out. Have I got the right bunch or not? Is this sissy church or is this cowboy church? I better check once in a while. Huh? We're just going to quit accepting all this stuff. Does it mean we get 100% results every time the first time? I'd like that, but probably not. But we don't back up. We just stay hooked and we just stay at it. We just keep at it. We say, you know what? If I have to arrest you every day, I will. I know the judge system's a little crazy now. It seems like somebody commits a crime, the next day they're back up out on the street. Everybody's frustrated. Well, you know what I say? Arrest them again. Arrest them again. Arrest them again. Arrest them again. I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about just keep arresting every day if that's what it takes. I'm healed and whole. It's who I am. I'm not a sick man looking for healing. I'm a healed man that might be battling something. See the difference? I'm just telling you, it's what we accept. I'm just saying let's at least no longer accept it. I mean, does anybody know anything needs to be arrested? I mean, in your own life's good. Everything's good in your life. We'll go start arresting stuff for other people. But Jesus said, behold, I've given you the power. That's why he would say it like nonchalantly. Hey, guys, after I'm gone, you're going to go wait in a room. Power's going to come upon you, and here's what I want you to do. Go to every town, heal the sick, raise the dead, cast out lepers, tell them the kingdom is here. You get the privilege of operating with the authority given to us by the kingdom of God. There is no higher kingdom. There is none more powerful. All authority has been given to Jesus, and Jesus delegated it to us. We get to make arrests. How about we arrest some stuff? How about we quit giving it a free pass to operate in our lives and in our families' lives and in our town and in our city? How about we say, hey, spirit of addiction and spirit of death, all this stuff, spirit of poverty, I said it. Well, we place this stuff under arrest. You're no longer operating in our towns and in our schools and in our societies here and in our region.
Please follow and share this message. And for more information, visit srcowboychurch.com.